to start. We're here. We're back. Welcome everybody back to the Roll the Bones podcast. Tonight I am joined by somebody I actually went to high school with, Red Strafstrom. Before we get started tonight, I do want to give a very special thanks to everybody from JD DeLay and the Wood Chipper Tribe, Chloe Roma's crowd with Roma's Army, and everybody in the One Life family that recently came together. And we paid down Jason Vukovich's restitution. We got him free. I see Michelle in the chat. Adventures with Red. I love everybody that showed up. That's going to come out to this. This is going to be number one in me and Brother Trev's Community First initiative, where we're going to talk to other people. It's like Brother Jason always says, you know, change happens in the community first. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Red Strafstrom, who's running for Board of Education in my area. So go ahead.
It's awesome to be here. Thanks for having me on. I'm really excited for this one.
Yeah, me too.
I like that we're kind of experimenting with the new thing and we're figuring out what it is now. Like, I love that, you know, mess around and see what it turns into and make the mistakes and go on to the next thing.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, over here, we're just building the plane while flying. That's what I always tell everybody. Yeah. So tell us a little bit, introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I'm running for Board of Ed here in Wolcott, Connecticut. Now, the reason I'm running for Board of Ed, bigger than anything else, is I have a 5-year-old daughter with severe special needs. And I was looking at the way the school district is being run. And to put it mildly, I have a number of concerns. We are drastically underfunded. Our schools are falling apart. Most of the schools are old enough to collect Social Security. 4 out of the 5 schools in towns have leaks, mold. Like, literally, there are parts of the middle school, even though that's the newest school that had major renovations, that kids are not allowed to be in when there's heavy rains going on because they're afraid the roof will collapse. So there's a number of things that are wrong. I think that we're really underservicing the special needs kids in the community. We're underreporting them even. But that's a long diatribe we could keep kind of going through and going into.
For sure.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I agree. There's a lot of things that I notice in just my own kids. You know, one of my oldest, he falls on a little bit of the spectrum. He was diagnosed with ODD, ADHD, and the combination of a lot of these abbreviated things, and it's a long list. I don't feel like he gets a fair shake. It's kind of like a lot of the stuff. I mean, and there are great teachers. I'm not disputing that.
Yes,
there are absolutely great teachers and very idealistic and very rational individuals. But I feel like that he is like a lot of the kids in this classroom area. They kind of get bussed around and moved into, you know, away from everybody else. And they don't have proper one-on-ones in a lot of cases. I know something that you had mentioned, you know, for first and foremost, you're like one of the first people I've actually seen kind of have the balls to go on Wolcott chats, make the videos, and kind of, hey, this is what's going on, breaking down the board for people to understand.
Yeah. So I want to give the board credit. They are very good at transparency. If you want to watch the Board of Ed meetings, you can find them online, but a lot of people aren't watching the whole videos. They're 20 to 40 minutes long, depending on the meeting. And it's all gobbledygook. They're good at And there's a big difference between being transparent and understanding how to do communication. They suck at communication, but they are good at transparency. It's like when you get a note from your doctor and it's written in like handwriting you can't understand.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like one of the points on the board is they were debating Proposition 1325.1. No one's going to know what that is unless you actually attend the meetings regularly. So those are the kinds of things they need to get better at.
Yeah, I mean, I think even for me, like I have severe ADHD. Even like, trust me, like researching guests. If I didn't have my sister Amy to help me with things, I'd be completely lost. But like there's almost, yeah, it's like you said, it's like doctor's handwriting. You can't. Yeah. Or somebody trying to explain to you the fine print in a contract, and you're just like, eventually you just get overwhelmed and just like, yeah, I'll take your word for it.
Well, the average reading level across the country is a 6th grade reading level, which makes anything in legalese almost impossible to understand. Anything you get from your doctor almost impossible to understand. So we need to have people who can communicate in, 4th, 5th, like that Hemingway style of writing. And we just don't have that in this town until hopefully I've taken it down to an 8th grade level at least, but I don't know how successful I've been there either.
Yep.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that. The best communicators write and speak very simply.
One thing, even for the average student, that I find to be rather concerning is I feel like, and now we'll take a step away from the special education part of it, but something that I've noticed that these kids don't seem to be very educated on things going on like around them, or proper explanations of historical events, not even understanding how to write in cursive.
That's something I'm not, but that so much of that started right when we got out of high school. So you were 2004 as well too, I thought. Like we're same exact class, I thought.
Yep.
Yeah. So it was right after that No Child Left Behind got passed. And so much has changed since then, where they're teaching for the tests. And when you talk to the current Board of Education, they're like, oh, we're 13% higher on math and ELA, English language arts, than other schools. Okay, great. But are they reading full books anymore? Or are they reading, snippets in order to actually pass a reading comprehension test? Because those reading comprehension tests only have the short stories. They aren't reading a full book. Like the one I remember from high school more than anything else was The Wave, and I've actually recently reread it.
I do remember that one.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite ones about the novelization of the Nazi experiment in Northern California. Absolutely loved that book. That was one of the few books from school that I absolutely devoured.
Yeah, there was, but even then, I feel like, they're not having them read the books like required. We had required reading.
We were that last generation of that before the test became the predominant, like, again, George W. Bush, No Child Left Behind, focusing so much on the standardized testing side of things. And I'm not saying every school does that. I'm just saying it's a lot more common than it used to be at our age, which I hate saying it, when I'm still a young chicken.
I think, it's getting them to like be able to, like, one, it expands, their vocabulary for one.
Yes.
It will help them in conversation tremendously. But I feel like even in our schools, for as red as we are, we tend to like, all right, this is an actual situation that several people, including my own kid, had brought to me. Historical events. Now, you remember, we used to have to write about people that we, looked up to, or somebody, an influential individual. Having a child want to write about a politician you don't agree with, but allow one to be written about another, is not acceptable. Also having teachers, and this is why, like I said, there's great teachers, but then there's some that it's where we need an overall audit of everything, is because you have some that are pushing these narratives of you're singling out a black child in the crowd and then saying that he should feel less than because, that's not right. And that's a problem that, I know people have brought it up to board members in the past. I know it's been a concern, and that's a concern of mine.
Yeah. And I don't there's so many of those things get twisted and misinterpreted. And I don't know, by the end of actually hearing the situation, I don't know what actually happened in that classroom. I'll say that 95% of the time it gets politicized to that point. What I want people to be able to do. So when I do sales meetings, what I often do is I force people to take the other side of their own argument.
Okay.
And
it's a strong thing. I mean,
no matter what side you are on, advocate for the opposite. And if you cannot effectively advocate for what you disagree with, then you're not doing the right thing. You don't actually know the subject matter well enough.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what, again, in sales meetings, I have people do that all the time. Okay, so you argue this, and I will actually force people to switch teams on the spot during a sales meeting in order to have the right conversation and make sure everybody understands every single side. And they actually steel man as opposed to straw man the argument.
Yeah, and it's a good approach. And I actually think with honestly the structure of how things are in our world, since unfortunately they're being forced into our world because it's just too social media and whatever. I think the spirit of debate and conversation, make it part of it. You know what
Absolutely.
I mean? Because these kids with the phones and all that stuff, it isolates them. It breaks them away from reality. Where and I feel like we're the last of that era that was thrown out of the house.
I will also say on the other side, those are still I want kids to engage with their phones because the internet is the greatest opportunity. It's the greatest equalizer in the last 100 years,
especially for making money.
And making 100%. Anybody with an internet address can make money nowadays. It doesn't matter if you're in India, but we need to give teachers the power to know when they can use that tool or not, because the phone has to be a tool in that arsenal. And to just outright ban them all doesn't work.
No.
Let the teachers decide in their own classrooms. Give them the power to make the decision to say, no, it stays in the RFID bag or not.
Right. It's all about balance. I mean, like COVID, unfortunately, that was where it started, where, but I mean, and I feel like in that moment is where they lost the art of communication with each other. Michelle had just stated in the chat, kids need to learn to communicate with each other. And in this world, these are adult traits that I feel like.
We also can't hold kids to that level to a certain degree because the executive part of the brain isn't fully formed until 25, 26. Literally the frontal lobe of the brain doesn't stop developing until that age. So expecting them to behave rationally all the time is pretty much impossible genetically. What's up, Trev?
Brother Trev in the house.
Yeah.
How you doing, buddy? But what the thing is I think if you allow them the opportunity to have those conversations, because there's a lot of confusion. And I know, if whether or not you liked the guy or not, I know situations like Charlie Kirk, it did affect these kids. They were forced, to witness this. And a lot of young kids were exposed to this. And that's where it's hypercritical to see, even if they don't understand it. We didn't understand 9/11 when it happened. But
I still remember the classroom I was sitting in during Columbine.
100%.
I was back at Alcott with my daughter when she went there for pre-K, and I remember, I was sitting in that room, and I pointed to it.
And it's so crazy, man.
But that's also part of the culture is, think about it, as much as we're talking about, we're the last generation of it and we're taking that as a point of pride. We were also kind of messed up with it all because we were told you never talk about politics, religion, sex. And now we don't know how to have those complex conversations. We don't know how to have that discussion with somebody where it can become a little bit awkward.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we have to help people do is learn how to, how do you talk about religion, politics, sex in the right way? Because that's how a lot of these things go wrong is by people not knowing how to actually speak up.
That's true. And I think a lot of them, like, I think they see how wild it is in our world that they're kind of scared to speak up now, where we, like, some people might not understand how to have that conversation, but I think when you see the mass crazy and chaos, like, I think they're too scared to speak up. And this is why, again, it's very important that we allow children to have at least, my kids, I try to ask me questions. They'll call, my brother Trev. They, they're very blessed to have the collection of individuals that they have that not a lot of kids are going to have access to, but the it's important to learn, to teach them to, help other people, not be afraid to ask questions, engage, because that's what makes you not only a stronger leader in the world, that's how you learn from mistakes.
So you remember, like, I was the awkward kid. Like, I was the skinny, like, believe it or not, for those of you watching, I used to be the skinny ginger kid, not the chubby ginger kid. And like, I was the awkward one. I had to learn how to talk about almost everything. I literally have a mnemonic to make small talk for people so I can know what to talk about when things get silent. Like Ford's, family, friends, occupation, recreation, dream, school, and sports. Like, I literally have a mnemonic to make small talk. That is like what we don't teach people social skills as skills. It's just, oh, you have it or you don't. And that's not the way it really is.
Yeah. I mean, because I think, I think all of us were some semblance of awkward. I was awkward until I wasn't. And that's
I'm still awkward.
Story.
I haven't grown out of it entirely.
Yeah, I mean, it stays with us forever, I think, to a degree. Yeah. Oh, Vaz, I see in the chat you were absolutely awkward. So, but but I mean, there's a double-edged sword, like, there's two ways, a lot of ways that these kids can develop it, and in some ways it makes it easier for them. Mm-hmm. But I think having encouragement towards speak your mind, say your piece, allow them, because eventually they are going to be the voting class of the country. Dial them in.
And like, speaking your mind and knowing when dissent is the right move, because it's particularly in school age, that peer pressure is still so foundational. And to like embracing that awkwardness and saying, hey, that's my personality and suck it if you don't like it. Like, you're so pressured into that. And how do you teach something? Like, so few people, and I've met executives at conferences who lead hundreds of people who think you can't teach soft skills. No. You absolutely can.
Being, to pull it back a little bit from this, and we'll go into, back to, the special needs kid and special education. Where do you think we begin in that? Now, I grew up in that. I was actually put in the alternative program back when, if you probably remember the term, the barn. I know there's a couple.
Yep, I remember the barn.
There's a couple barn alumni in here. I see them. Like, but
see, I never had to go, but I think it was only because I knew, like, I tested well. Like, that was it. Like, I knew how to pay enough attention out of one ear while doodling in my notebook to get a B.
I was just a jackass, so that's why I ended up in the barn. But the problem was, back then, it was they made you feel less than if you went there. And now I'm not talking about other students. I'm not talking about some of the, but administrative levels. And I see this a lot, and I've had families that have reached out, and I've talked with plenty of people in the community that their children have gone through some of the new forms of the alt programs, where they just kind of get ignored. They're just kind of brushed off. Like, they're given, a lot of times it feels like the bare minimum. And they'll focus on something else. And there's a lot of kids that fall inside of this spectrum of individuals that really need our attention more than somebody that's high functioning. Like, it just, like, that knows, has it all there, that doesn't need that extra help.
Yeah. And there's a lot to do with that. So one is how much mental health has jumped over the years. Now, it was in 2013 was the very first time a psychiatrist could like diagnose somebody with both ADHD and autism, just 12 years ago. So there is so much moving so fast. I mean, Freud was only about 140 years ago. So psychology as a whole is brand spanking new as a science. fMRIs just came around in the 80s. We are still learning so much, which means we have to adapt so much faster than ever before. So I've got to give again, we're talking about how, we're the last generation that yeah, we were basically still quasi institutionalizing our special ed kids back then.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And as wrong as that is, and we can tell that in hindsight, we also need to think okay, well, and not even just counting Wolcott, if the average age on your board of education in any town is 65, 70 years old, you can't expect many cutting edge methodologies in your in your classroom.
100%. In I don't know, how much does it cost for because I know they have advocates. You can go to the state now. Is there grant programs that we can apply to and to have more kind of boots on the ground?
So that's where you Wolcott gets a really rough rap. So first and foremost, those advocates, a lot of them do very good work, but there is no single governing board. There's not like a bar exam that you have to pass to be a student advocate. So there is a very wide discrepancy in who does what. And I know that partially because my wife works with birth to 3. So I see how wide of a spectrum that is. The other side of it is more on the state level. So our politician has Rob Sampson, who is our state senator, has kind of picked every fight on the map with the governor. And in doing so, he's kind of pissed him off to the point where we get nothing in Wolcott anymore. Yeah. We don't really get any federal funding. Now, there's also a local issue there, too, where the town Republicans just aren't applying for it. Literally, there was COVID funds for a new air cleaner that was paid for by the state. Wolcott was the only town in the state that didn't even apply for a new air cleaner 100%.
They did not even bother.
Didn't even bother. 169 towns. Wolcott was the one that did not apply.
See, now that's unacceptable.
Absolutely. And it was free money. It was from the state. We would have had to kick some money in. It would be something like we kick in 30% and they kick in the other 60 or 70. But it was still from the state. The bond referendum that happened this summer, there was a bond referendum. And first of all, we only got one bid, which was atrocious to begin with. But all they said is, for a new roof, it'll cost $4.5 million. And people voted it down, not knowing that we would get $3 million back from the state. To fix the roof that, again, in Terrell is so bad, they will literally take kids out of rooms when it's raining too hard.
And then, but what that shows is if you have to go that far and you know it's that bad, then you're putting them in danger in your own way, and you think you can Band-Aid fix that situation.
The high school literally may not have water. That we have the water system is so bad that it's shut down, and they have to manually reset it in order to fill the tank. We have to custom order the water sensors for the water system in the Wolcott High School. And all of these things.
It's so unacceptable. So it makes me. And then there was that incident. There was a couple of years back. I can't remember the full logistics of it, but there was something. Was it with the website or networks or something like that? Or
there's been a few issues like that, but I mean, those are relatively minor in my mind. The biggest thing is me and you were part of the last class that saw major renovations in the school system, and that was 25 years ago. Yeah, the last major renovation was when they switched the elementary school and the middle school around, and they turned the elementary school into the middle school and vice versa. That was in the year 2000. That was a quarter century ago. Yeah,
we were the last class that came out of Alcott.
Yeah,
when it was middle school.
That was the last major renovation. Since then, the major renovations were the track, and I think they did that twice at the high school, and the lecture hall. One of the Board of Ed members I was talking to a few nights ago said, if you go through the locker room, it looks the exact same as it did in high school. And he says it looked like, and his exact words were, the hostage videos we used to see from Al-Qaeda.
Oh my God.
That's what he explained what the locker rooms look like right now.
I might have to check this out on voting day.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm not going to say who said that because I don't want to get in
that's
trouble
fine.
because it was a conversation between them and the superintendent. But like seriously, it's been the schools are old enough to collect Social Security. That's all you really need to know.
I mean, you're not wrong. I mean, but I mean, it's like this is why it's important that we start adding new faces and new names, like people with fresh ideas and stuff like that. And like my co-host Trev, who's actually in the chat, he put, you want to pin Trev's comment? And I did see in there, brother Gooch. We were caught in the conversation. I love you, buddy. Gucci Boomer, Alex McCleary. If you haven't seen his stuff, you should check it out. It's pretty good. He's got a show coming with his buddy Carmine, and I look forward to it. So get you out there, buddy. I told you. But it was just click on it and it says pin. But he had said the crazy thing is Connecticut is supposed to be the top notch with things like ABA Therapy Act.
So on that note, Connecticut is. But Wolcott is severely underfunded. Now, what I mean by that is there are 166 districts in the state of Connecticut. In terms of per student spending, Wolcott is 159th. We are in the bottom 5% for per student spending. And what that also means is we are underspending on a lot of things. And there are also a number of issues with special ed, particularly where kids just aren't being reported as being, for lack of a better term, disabled. Mm-hmm. And I wholeheartedly believe that. I believe there are ways. So the reason I'm saying that, if you look at the Board of Ed report, the national average for students with special needs is 17%. Wolcott's at 16%. Now, that normally doesn't sound like a big discrepancy, but generally speaking, suburban towns are way above that 17% because diagnoses like autism and ADHD are very expensive unless you have the right insurance. Mm-hmm. So generally, suburban towns are closer to that 19, 20, 21, but we're below the 17. It's usually the rural districts or the inner city districts who don't have the additional funds or the good insurance or any insurance in order to see, a psychiatrist to get that diagnosis. So my guess is we're higher than 16%. I don't have proof of that, but it's the only thing that makes sense to me. So my ABA would, thankfully, we had an absolutely wonderful program in Watertown that we went to called Behavior Blocks. And with my daughter, I know there's a lot of controversy around ABA as well. Some people think it's, operant conditioning but in some cases when a child is nonverbal and absolutely needs those special skills, ABA is the right thing. You need that conditioning or access to the right professionals. Absolutely. There is so few of that. There's just not enough to go around is part of the problem too.
What exactly is ABA therapy? What is that the process entail? And if you can explain it.
So it's ABA, applied behavior, and I can't remember what the last day is right now. It's effectively like operant conditioning. Think like Pavlov's dogs.
Okay.
You do this, you get a reward, or you get a positive punishment, a negative punishment, things along those lines. People say, the people who are critical of ABA say that it's reshaping their personalities and using, like, again, rewards and punishments rather than helping them be who they are. Mm-hmm. And there is a degree of that. But in some cases, again, like my daughter, I just don't want her to put a fork in the outlet sometimes. I don't want her to climb into the bathtub when we aren't there. Analysis, that was it. I couldn't remember what the last day was. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean...
But again, this is something for some kids they absolutely need. We don't have the resources in town. And when a child does need it, according to their IEP, the individualized education program, they often have to outsource it to somebody else. And that gets very, very expensive because these professionals don't give towns a discount.
Yeah, I would imagine not. And we have to figure out a way, like what would be your plan of action, like coming in when you hit the board?
Hiring professionals in district.
Okay.
hiring professionals in district and not just outsourcing them as effectively W-9 employees.
Yeah.
If we're hiring them at all. It's very competitive and very difficult to hire for any special needs at all right now. There just aren't enough people going into that for college, but we still need to figure out a way to bring it in-house. And that'll just take time, is finding the right people.
So when, like, at what point, when did it start? Like, when did you make the decision? Like, this is what I want to do. I have to get into this. I know we'll touch on it in a second, but I know you run a business that is a leadership coach, which is going to be, I think, will carry really well in your approach to the board. But like, how did you determine, like, the no more sidelining?
So my daughter, again, very special, needs a lot of help. And we had a wonderful experience with Alcott and the pre-K program there. Like her teachers, her paras, my wife still texts with her paras regularly, and we absolutely love them. And when she was getting ready for kindergarten, we sat down with a PPT with the district. And I said, okay, I'd love for her to stay back a year because she's seeing so much development here. I don't want to change anything I don't want to change what's working for something that might not. And Wakely has been good, but we don't have the same level of warm and fuzzies that we did at Alcott yet. And I got pushback on it. And in doing so, I realized, like, hey, there might be a point where I need to advocate for my kid or somebody else's kid. And the only way to make that change is somewhat from the inside.
Yeah.
So I did it to start in order to advocate for my daughter. And then as I started diving through and started seeing all the numbers for every student, not just neurotypicals or neurodiverse kids, like, hey, we got some serious foundational problems here in Wolcott. And so we had to fix it. Like, it's all of that all at once.
Yeah. Like, I almost feel like in order to make things work, we have to break the whole thing down and rebuild.
I don't know if we have to break the whole thing. And what I mean by that is what we need is for parents to get involved. That's the issue that I think we need. And that's why I'm doing so much communication. Is I don't think the whole system needs to collapse and be rebuilt, but we need parents to put pressure on people like myself running for Board of Education in order to make the changes happen.
I mean, I do think, I think Sean Simpson does.
He is absolutely phenomenal. And
he's incredible.
If we lost him, we would be in very serious. I have nothing but respect for him, and I will say that. I agree. Like, the man is absolutely, he puts those kids first. He is literally a ride or die for them kids in the schools. Like, that is 100% apparent. I can confirm that because he was close with my son. But he definitely somebody we have to keep in this keep here. And I don't think necessarily, even though I'm running for Board of Education, not all the problems lay in Board of Education. I think a lot come from the town council because they're the ones they're like the legislative branch, so they control the pocketbook.
No, it's 100%. That's 100% fair. I mean, another thing, it's like, now I spent a little bit of time. I had worked with the library at one point. Now I've seen them lose their budget funding. Now, if you could find a way that the Board of Education can have a stronger relationship with the library, things need to start working together rather than fighting over who gets more money.
So I had an absolutely wonderful experience. I sat down with a meeting just on Friday with some of the pre-K teachers, Rosa, who is the vice chair, does special education for the elementary schools, and Megan from the library. And they're all working together. And the tricky thing is there's only so much funds, and the entire town of Wolcott is very focused on, we don't want to raise taxes at all ever. And that's fine, but that's not really going to help either. We can't really grow like Peterson Park. Like, look at the skate park. Like, they built the skate park when we were in high school, and now it's all weeds. You can't even ride a skateboard across it anymore.
Right. But that's the problem is they don't maintain. They just wait until it falls apart and then demand exuberant amounts of money to fix it. And that's just not feasible. But I honestly think
They
I know
do
you can,
maintain to a level in the schools. They're doing all they can, but it's beyond the point where you can repair it.
yeah.
It's like, for example, again, right back to that water issue at the high school. It's going to cost $8,000 for a water sensor, effectively, for the water system at the high school.
Yeah.
It's because it's such an old system that we now have to custom build what we need in order to fit in that existing system.
Well, you said there were, and you also stated there were mold that was in some of the.
Not officially, but when you have that many roof leaks,
That's fair.
yeah.
But before that becomes a major issue. I mean, commercial scale remediation is not cheap.
No. Well, and to be fair, like the cost of a new school would be $100 million. But on the same note, you do that as a 30-year bond. That's the difference is, we have the credit rating. We've got an A+, I think a AA+ credit rating.
Well, I mean, that's because we don't apply for,
Well, and yeah, like the town has done a very good job at not spending money, but it's held us back. The town is growing slower than anywhere else. The average town in the state of Connecticut, the housing values have increased 7% year over year, according to Redfin. Wolcott only increased 2%.
I don't know. I'm in real estate, and I could tell you, like the housing, like compared to when I started in 2018 to the COVID explosion, like a house that would be worth 220,000 was closing out at 400 plus. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not feasible.
That was an absolute, because I worked in
entirely
real estate
separate
consultancy, and when there was no inventory anywhere, and
well, now there's
we
like
had 2
zero
months of
inventory.
inventory on hand, that was just so abnormal. And now we're still having those inventory problems because places like Blackstone are buying up at whatever they can.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's a tinfoil
That's
right
a
there.
full diatribe that you.
Oh yeah, with
but
BlackRock
again,
and that.
Normally a raising market raises all boats, and Wolcott is falling short of what the rest of the market is doing.
Well, think about it this way. Like even all right, just with the real estate thing, this is like almost like a new form of redlining in its own way, because what you do is you do everything the right way. You pay you have a good credit score, and that really only affects your interest rate, and payment history, good, and all that stuff allows you to get the loan. So, but you have 790 as a credit score, you're going to get 8-9%. But somebody that's got 600 or less, you're going to get a lower interest rate. So what happens is you have to buy, if it entices people to buy way outside of their means, and what happens in 5 years when they can't keep the payments, they foreclose on it, and then the bank controls the market. People can look at that.
The same thing with the used car market. The same, like you have the buy here, pay here places.
Oh yeah,
it's I can't remember who said it, but how expensive it is in terms of being poor is astronomical.
Yeah, I mean, cost of living is absurd.
But that's the other side of it too, is if we start investing in our schools, we start investing in the community, that's going to drive the real estate prices up as a whole. And okay, it may cost you an extra $300-400 in taxes, but you may get another $7,000-8,000 worth of home value that you can borrow against later on.
Well, I mean, with the average person being in that much credit card debt, trying to survive in this thing, it's like sometimes that $300-400 that
Oh, absolutely, it does. But this
is one thing I think would be good, and it's a smaller thing, but I think that people should, like you said before, like we talked about it a little while ago, is like the phone. You can make so much money on there, and I think that teaching, like allowing kids to explore that entrepreneurial mindset, finding side hustles, figuring out ways, that would be a great thing to introduce. Absolutely. Because
and like I think about how much time I spent with calculus, and in terms of complex problem solving, it was great. History, I loved history. I loved the story. I loved the human nature of it, the research aspect of it. But you've got to come to a point where you're actually teaching kids something they could use day in, day out. And we're sacrificing some of that in order to hit test scores.
My co-host texted me real quick.
Yeah.
but yeah, I do think that I mean, first and foremost, calculus was never a thing for me. Like
No.
I couldn't do calculus. I'm good at money math. I am not good with anything beyond like
I remember, like, I distinctly remember as one of my core memories being in calculus and they drew the alpha on the board and I thought it was Jesus fish. And like that was like I remember literally asking the teacher, like, what is the Jesus fish doing in that math equation? Like I didn't belong there, but I was smart enough to pick up enough to get a B. Like that was the only thing that I had
I
going
couldn't
for it.
like I was so good at math they put me in the barn.
Yeah.
So like we'll put that out there.
Yeah.
But um but no, they have like I always try to teach my kids to find different avenues. Don't be like a slave to the the 9 to 5. And there's so many great business models that you can go on, and I love Trev's the same way. Like my brother Trev, he's the same way. We like teach them how to make money through any way
Well,
you can, as long as it's completely legal and above board.
well, and you have to learn it from like I don't know many people who read full books anymore, and I read 50 to 70 books a year. Like, why aren't you reading like business books on a regular basis to understand how to build an organization, how to build like leadership skills? Like, just showing up and being charismatic and knowing how to shake hands and kiss babies is not enough anymore. You need to be able to like explain your ideas.
What's it? Anybody
yeah.
I tell about the barn thinks I'm making things up.
No,
Liz,
no,
for real.
no.
Absolutely, they think it.
Yeah, that is. I wish you were like it's. There's some weird things in Wolcott that like you can't explain to anyone else. Like Mickey Mouse Rock, you can't explain to anyone else.
Not at all. Like
No, it makes no sense. Like you
is,
think it's this massive landmark, and like nope, it's this little thing.
Brother Trev, I think we might need to do a conspiracy episode about Mickey Mouse Rock. There's got to be something behind it. But
Yeah.
the Wolcott is a very strange place.
It's completely like it's so parochial. It wants to be a small town, but complains that it's not a small town. Like there was the thing on the Wolcott chats recently, like, what's the best hidden gem in downtown Wolcott? And we're like, what?
What the hell is downtown Wolcott?
Yeah.
Like what is that? Is that like the row of pizza places that runs from like
it's the Cumbies is basically it.
It's like damn near town square.
Yeah, like that's basically it. But those are the kinds of things that you don't you have to be an insider to realize how flaming red
Kathy,
this neck is.
There's a comment here. I was shocked to find out there's no more automotive in high school anymore. Now, is there other trades? Are they still?
I've gotten mixed answers on that. I don't want to commit myself. I don't know 100% for sure. Most of what I've learned, it's not like we post the curriculum for everybody to go through and it's all in explicit detail because then you'd have people ripping it apart like the Moms for Liberty kind of stuff. But yeah, it's like wood shop. I remember doing. I loved wood shop. I literally like on the other side of this wall is my router table. I still do wood shop as a grown adult. Like that's when my daughter was up at 3 a.m, we would watch woodworking because of probably my own autism there.
I still have some metals. I used to, make stuff there, and it was good. I like those, but I mean they were welcome things, and it was also like an introductory to like trades.
Yeah.
Which trade skills matter, and seems to be a decrease in people trying to go into trade skills.
But again, this is where Wolcott gets a little bit weird too, because the Wolcott kids who wanted to go into trades went to Caner.
Yeah.
So like I love supporting the trades here, and I've met too many adults who I wouldn't trust with a screwdriver. I will say that as like I do my own work on my own truck. My truck is old enough to buy booze. Like that's the kind of person I am. I do like so I'm very antithetical. I think part of it is I'm lucky enough to know how to do it, and my dad taught me a lot of it. Part of it is I'm just too cheap to pay for labor. But
I mean, this economy, I don't blame you.
Yeah, but that's the side of it is I'd love for kids to learn learn skills, but I can't picture them learning trades from any program in the school. Like having 1 year of metalworking, it doesn't make you like
No,
you're
I
not
wouldn't
getting an
probably go the
electrical
distance. I wouldn't
apprenticeship
go as
from Wolcott High
far.
at any point.
I wouldn't go as far as doing a full-on trade school,
No,
but those
no,
introductions to just let them sample it and see if it's
yeah.
something that might interest them.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm completely good with that, but that's the tricky thing is like, where do you draw that line of, you know, how much of a trade do you teach them? I think learning general maintenance on cars and houses and things
life
like that.
skills, bro.
And, even if you get an apartment, you should know how to change things a little bit too, as much as you can, so you don't get screwed over. But again, no one is going to learn how to be a plumber at Wolcott High at any point.
Well, they don't even don't they not even properly plumb that building? Because wasn't there
No, they
like
don't. They don't. Yeah,
it
that's
wasn't there issues like
And again, I want to say the maintenance department does all they can with what they have, but the things
well, yeah,
have gone beyond repair and need replacement.
but you can't nobody faults the maintenance guys, but
No.
what it comes down to is either they're too cheap to do it or the money gets allocated to some idiotic thing,
Yeah.
and
And
that's
I
why.
don't think there's a whole lot of idiotic things because we're not funding the schools enough in general. Like I will say there's probably not a lot of waste in the schools. There might be some, and I'm sure there is, but that'd be more of a personal disagreement on a certain thing as opposed to like, we spent $50,000 on t-shirts.
Oh God, no,
That's not the case.
Yeah.
We spent it was between I think it was $490,000 last school year on emergency maintenance. It was between 450 and 500. I don't remember the exact number, but I think it was 490.
What is the overall budget? The budget for the school?
It's about 45 million. So it's about 2/3 of the town's budget. The overall town budget's about 66.
Yeah.
About 4.5 goes to police, and then about 45 goes to schools. We're investing about 17,200 per student. The state average is about 21,000. So we're about 23% below what the state average is.
Like, yeah, we need.
And I'm not even saying we need to close that entire gap. Like, I don't think we do, but when somebody hears that Wolcott is in the bottom 5%, they should feel ashamed because I know I do.
I certainly do.
Yeah.
It just because then it makes me feel like at that point, like what's the money actually going to if they're that far down? What is that money actually getting these kids? You know what I'm saying?
So most of it goes to payroll. Most of it goes to like contractual obligations. About 89% of that 45 million goes to contracts. Most of the rest goes to things like fixing things, maintaining fields, paper towels. Like it's not going to anything else. 89% of the budget goes to contracts. So again, that's why I want to say, like, we can't expect people to say like, oh, there's $5 million of waste in there. No, again, that's the entire everything else.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, I wanted to kind of point that out. Like it's fashionable to say, hey, there's this issue, but there's not. I just saw a comment, and I don't want to pull it away too much, but for the Adventures with Red top 3 priorities, you mind if I jump into that?
Absolutely. Go for it.
So the first thing is obviously special ed because that's like my daughter. That is something that I could help with as much as possible. My wife works with birth to 3. She has her degree in early education, and I actually have my bachelor's for like education too, but we graduated right after Lehman Brothers collapse and that didn't happen. So that's the first one is special education. I want to fight for the teachers. Their contract is up and I want to make sure that we're not losing teachers anymore. Wakely alone lost 18 teachers last year. So that is a major issue is we're seeing a lot of turnover. We have some great teachers and we're losing them because other districts are paying better. And then the last thing is more of a long-term thing is I really want to start raising the budget of the Board of Ed, but that's not something the Board of Ed can do themselves. We can't appropriate our own budget from the town. So we need to actually start creating this fervor among parents so that they could start fighting the town council with us.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree.
But as much I could go to the town council meetings and yell and scream and shake my fist, but until I have 15, 20 parents behind me with the same message, it's not going to get through. We did see a $2 million budget increase last year, but again, that just took us from 166 to 159th.
We see a comment, Kathy Downey. I'm told the Connecticut DOT operates in the auto shop.
Could be, yeah.
I mean, I'm not entirely dialed in on what they're doing in certain parts of the town like that, but you know, I am hopeful though. Like I do.
If I didn't think they could be fixed, I wouldn't be fighting for it.
All right. I mean,
like if I thought it was a lost cause, I would move somewhere else. I'd be in Terryville or Cheshire or wherever. That's not where I'm at. I think we could absolutely build all of those things here. We just need, again, I think we need to start hitting that critical mass of parents to say, you know what? The only way to grow a town is really you need economic opportunities and you need education.
Mm-hmm.
That provides everything else. And I think I won't say we're failing on the education front, but we're not doing as good as we could be.
No. And I think, parents need to definitely be more engaged overall.
Yeah.
But I think some of the teachers need to be a lot more transparent with us. Like if there's something they need to work on, because a prime example, like I had stated, like, my oldest has ODD and that's come with its own set of issues. We can't effectively correct those things if you tell me about it 2 weeks later.
Yeah. And like my daughter can't communicate at all. We don't even know what kind of day she has at school, other than we're lucky enough that in the life skills program, they fill out a form and literally circle the smiley face or the frowny face every day for us.
Yeah. In these situations, like there needs to be like a little bit of specifics.
And I'd love to say, like, yes, it's true. The parents do need to step up, but there's no mechanism in the town to force that to happen. There's no way from a legislative side to say, parents, you need to do more. Parents have sometimes 2 hours with their kids before bedtime.
Yeah. Fortunately, I do this for work. So, like I get to, my youngest now started kindergarten, but
yeah.
So it was fun working with him. He was like my business partner. But
again, if you're getting home at 5:00 and your kids have to be in bed at 8:00 and you still have to do laundry, make dinner, pack their backpack, make sure they do their homework, et cetera,
yeah.
How much more are you expecting from parents at that point?
And
again, if I could dictate from on high, okay, you need to spend a half hour doing homework with your kid every single night, there's no way to actually make that happen. So the only mechanism we have to create the best opportunities for these kids is through the teachers, the administrators, the school boards, et cetera, et cetera.
Is there any type of elective programs you would like to see come in?
Right now, I want to keep the lights on. I would absolutely love
that's a fair take.
Yeah, like ABA, I'd love to have some people with that. We've had some really wonderful speech paths in the past. We actually just lost a phenomenal one at Alite, who we absolutely loved. Natasha Tarbell went to Seymour, but she was one of our favorite people to ever work with our daughter. We just haven't worked with too many others yet. But yeah, keep the lights on right now. Make sure that we still have water in the high school. Make sure the elevators are working so we don't get shut down for non-compliance. Like that's another issue is our elevators wind up having sensor issues and every so often they just don't work.
Yeah.
Like we need ADA compliance. Like, again, I'd love additional programs, but let's keep the lights on first. Like we're in survival mode in my mind.
So election day is coming.
Yep. And early voting already happened. If you're in Wolcott, you could do it right at the town hall. I think it's 10 to 6. But again, obviously November 4th. I'm row A on the back. I'm the very last name on the Board of Education.
So, before we head out of here, Mike, I really appreciate you taking the time to sit down. And it's always good to talk to somebody that wants to put these kids first, because that's always what we ride on over here, 150%. For those, I appreciate everybody that showed up, from JD DeLay's crowd, from the One Life family, which I see represented here, from Chloe Roma's stuff that came together and got Jason Vukovich's restitution straightened out. My big brother he's getting freed. We're taking care of this business. So if you want some of that awesome One Light Jason Vukovich gear, Michelle, share his link for me, please. And just like some news that coming up, that me and Anthony Arillotta will be sitting down with the adopted son, Louis Casman, who's adopted son of John Gotti. That's coming up. So I mean, but it takes. To make real change, it has to start in the community. It has to start with simple conversations like this. And I hope people, no matter where you may or may be watching from in this world, I know there's people from Wolcott that have been coming in and out, but I know there's a lot of people spread across the U.S. Get engaged in your community. We are putting together we're going to raise some money, try to help some of the less fortunate around these things. The Roll the Bone Spirit of Giving is in the works. We'll make the full announcement on November 9th. But Mike, I really appreciate you coming out and just.
That's what I'm here for, dude. I appreciate you talking. Hopefully people in Wolcott now know, and even people outside of Wolcott know what kind of struggles we're facing, and make sure they look into their own boards, even if they aren't around here, and make sure they aren't facing the same problems.
Yeah,
because I'm sure I shocked you with a lot of the stats that I gave.
Yeah, it was. It's a little bit.
Even though you've been living in Wolcott for your whole life.
It's it definitely it makes you stop and think a lot. And I mean, my mind is going to be processing all of this for the rest of the night, to be honest. But it is a little overwhelming. And whoever we can get in there that's going to put these kids first, try to get them what they need, and especially safety is one. We can't be having no roofs caving in on these kids. What the hell is that? That's crazy.
And I want to say, I think the existing Board of Education they are there for the kids as much as they can, but they've been, they want to do what's best, but they haven't been communicating and doing what they need to get the resources they absolutely need. It is kind of where my concern is. I think they could be, if not doing more, it's you just need to have somebody willing to stand up and argue sometimes, and I'm okay doing that.
Yeah, I do believe that it could be like town council is kind of old school, kind of hard nosed, and they want to keep things the way they are, and
it's a very conservative town, very, very conservative. For those of you guys who don't know, Wolcott voted for Trump 2-1.
I voted for Trump 3 times.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, it's 66-33, literally. So it's a very conservative town, very much wants to keep things the same.
But I mean, even then, it doesn't just fall on. I think it's just it's generational. Because there's a lot of old school Democrats that live in the town that don't want to change shit either.
I agree there too.
It's really just whatever era you're from. They don't.
You want to reset the clock back to when you were in high school,
right? And I mean, I want to toss. It's great. I mean, they don't have the freedom that we had, where you can just toss them out the front door and be spend some time outside. But I just don't think that the kids in general have a fair shake these days. Everything's stacked against them. They're getting drawn into things that are bigger than they can mentally comprehend.
Yeah. The dopamine push of everything in front of them.
Oh God, it's ridiculous. Everything's a commercial. Everything
100%.
is divided.
It's not even a commercial. It's a cartoon. It's not like we used to have to wait for Saturdays for the cartoons. You could have them now in 8 seconds.
The entire season.
The whole entire, all at once. No breaks, no nothing. Like no commercials even. Yeah. Dunn has been the mayor for 22 years now.
Yeah, too long. You know, but you know, I have my own opinions, on that one, but
I'm not going to touch the mayoral race. I haven't even formed all of my opinions on that one yet. So
yeah, I'm not touching that one.
I have issues with both. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, it's the devil.
Without going into it, we don't need to dive into that kerfuffle.
But, yeah, I mean, but no, like, yeah, Wolcott, it definitely needs to get his shit together.
Yeah,
and
it can. I want to say it can. It's
gonna be it'll be our era that will bring it back.
Yeah, but thank you so much again. I know we're hitting that hour mark. I totally appreciate this. And anybody who has messages for me, questions for me, by all means, I'm pretty active on social media. I'm not hard to find.
All of Mike's
pretty much everything. Yeah.
All of Mike's contact information, or his his social media stuff, his business email and whatnot. It's all listed below. Remember to
100% make sure to vote.
Don't sit there and just say I'm going to do this, that. Show up if it's something you side with and you ride for it, and show the hell up, and don't just say it in the comment section.
Yeah.
In order, in order to make change of things, you got to get out there, and you got to be able to have conversations like this.
The least you can do is vote. We're not asking you to give up, spend days rebuilding playgrounds. Just vote. We'll figure out the rest of it for you.
Yeah, but again, man, I really appreciate it. So we're gonna get out of here. Oh,
absolutely. So vote one more time. Town Hall, I think it's 10 Kinnear Ave, 10 to 6, I believe is the time. Or obviously at your voting place, either the high school, Terrell, or Wakely on next Tuesday, the 4th.
Yep. Are there any more meet the candidate things coming up in the town?
I don't believe so. I none on the Democratic side, at least. But all
right.
Again, you ask me, just send me a message on DM. I'll talk to you.
All right, bud.
All right,
we're out of here. Hit the top. Thanks, man.
Absolutely, dude.